All right, welcome in, everyone. If you've got a massive biology taxonomy exam creeping up on the horizon, you are in the exact right place. Today, we are setting a fast-paced, really energetic tone for this explainer to help you lock down and completely memorize the fundamental rules of biological classification. Seriously, think of this explainer as your ultimate intensive cram session. We're going to look at the absolute core concepts distilled straight from the standard research, and we'll figure out these rules together. Our goal over the next few minutes is to cement the defining characteristics of life's kingdoms permanently into your brain. By the end of this, you're going to instantly differentiate a monoron from a protist or a fungus from a plant, the absolute second you see them on your test paper.
Here is our incredibly focused syllabus for today. First, an overview, then Monera versus Protista, followed by fungi, plantae, animalia, and finally, nutritional modes. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's dive in by grounding our review in the historical standard. Because honestly, before 1969, taxonomy was kind of a mess. Scientists basically just lumped everything into either plants or animals. But then R.H. Whitaker came along and totally changed the game by proposing the five-kingdom classification system. He realized, to truly understand the immense diversity of life, we had to group organisms by their cellular structure, their body organization, and critically, how they actually reproduce and get their nutrition. Section 1. The Five Kingdoms Overview. Before we jump into the branches, we first need to look at the trunk of the tree of life.
So if you want a literal cheat code for your exam, it's understanding the macro-level differences across these kingdoms. When you map out cell type, cell wall, nuclear membrane, and mode of nutrition, a really clear pattern emerges. You can literally watch the biological progression move from the incredibly simple, single-celled Monera all the way over to the highly complex tissue and organ systems of Plantae and Animalia. Recognizing those overarching patterns is for sure the absolute fastest way to build a mental map of taxonomy.
Now stop right there, because here is an absolute classic exam tip. You have to remember the bedrock split between prokaryotes and eukaryotes. If a test question mentions an organism that lacks a true nucleus and lacks membrane-bound organelles, boom, you are immediately in the territory of Kingdom Monera, the prokaryotes. Everything else we're going to talk about today, Protista, funga, plantae, and animalia, are eukaryotes. They all have a very well-defined protective nucleus for their DNA.
Number 2. Monera versus Protista, microscopic worlds. We really need to drill down here because this is one of the most commonly confusing comparisons on biology tests. Contrasting these groups side by side reveals exactly how different they actually are. Take Monera. These are your bacteria. They are exclusively single-celled and prokaryotic, and their cell walls, they're typically made of peptidoglycan, definitely not cellulose. Then you have Protista. This is kind of the catch-all kingdom for single-celled organisms that have upgraded to eukaryotic status, meaning they finally have a true nucleus and internal organelles. Think amoebas and algae. Finally, contrast both of those microscopic worlds against Plantae, which are entirely multicellular, eukaryotic, and boast thick, rigid cellulose cell walls. Seeing it mapped out like this makes that massive evolutionary leap from simple bacteria to complex plant life incredibly obvious.
Section 3. Kingdom Fungi, the decomposers. Stepping out of the microscopic realm, historically, scientists actually thought fungi were just weird plants. Whitaker knew better, though.
If you only remember one single thing for your test about fungi, make it this. Their cell walls are made of chitin, not cellulose. Chitin is the exact same tough, rigid material you find in crab shells. No way, right? Furthermore, fungi completely lack chlorophyll. They cannot photosynthesize. Instead, they act as the Earth's recyclers. They are heterotrophs, specifically saprophytes. That means they basically spit their digestive enzymes directly out into their environment to break down dead organic matter, and then they absorb those nutrients externally. Section 4. Kingdom Plantae, the producers. These are the amazing autotrophs that literally fuel the rest of the planet through photosynthesis. And a quick review on plants, keep in mind they follow very distinct life cycles. You've got annuals that complete their entire life cycle in a single year, biennials that take 2 full years to grow and reproduce, and perennials that return year after year, building up those long-term ecosystems. All that incredible diversity builds a really beautiful evolutionary classification tree. On your exams, you are almost guaranteed to be asked to trace the complexity of plants. So let's break it down into 4 steps. Step 1 is Thallophyta, super simple, undifferentiated plant bodies without true roots or stems. Step 2, we move up to Bryophyta, the mosses.
They live on land, but they don't have a vascular system, so they remain heavily water-dependent. Step 3 brings a massive evolutionary upgrade. Pteridophyta, the ferns. Now we have true roots and a proper vascular system to transport water. And finally, step 4 is spermatophyta, the highly advanced seed-bearing plants like towering pine trees and flowering roses. Memorize those 4 steps and you will navigate any tricky botany question with total ease.
Number 5. Kingdom Animalia, the consumers. Let's round out the 5 Whittaker kingdoms with our very own biological family. The absolute key identifiers you need to memorize here start with the complete absence of a cell wall. This specific lack of structural rigidity is precisely what allows animal cells to form complex, highly flexible tissues like muscles and nervous systems. That flexibility makes most animals motile, meaning capable of independent dynamic movement. Second is our reliance on consuming food. We do not absorb food externally from the environment like fungi do. Actually, we ingest it into an internal cavity. Biologically, that process is known as holozoic nutrition.
Section 6. Nutritional modes. Autotroph versus heterotroph. Finally, let's master these foundational concepts, because understanding exactly how an organism gets its energy is often the fastest, most reliable way to classify it.
The crucial point here is understanding this exact contrast. Autotrophs manufacture their fuel internally. Plants use sunlight in photosynthesis, while some really intense monerans like archaeobacteria living in extreme deep-sea vents use chemicals in a process called chemosynthesis. On the flip side, heterotrophs have to acquire their fuel externally. We just talked about animals being holozoic, ingesting food directly, and fungi being saprophytic, absorbing dead matter. There are also parasites distributed across multiple kingdoms that feed straight off a living host. Honestly, if you can confidently map a newly discovered organism to its specific nutritional mode, you have practically won the entire battle of taxonomy. So, as you finalize your studying and review these concepts one last time, I want you to ponder this biological puzzle to really test your critical thinking. Imagine if we found a brand new organism with a fungal chitin cell wall, but it could also magically photosynthesize like a plant. Where in the world would Whittaker place it? Does it break the rules, or does it demand a whole new kingdom? Use that question to test your mastery of everything we've covered today. Keep your notes organized, keep reviewing those core structures, and you are absolutely going to crush your exam.